Hi everyone, in today's video it's a Stampin' Up video and I want to introduce you to Boho Indigo. It's on page 9 of the new June 2020 to 2021 catalogue, and you get 48 sheets of double-sided designer series paper. You get some very vanilla embossed 6x6 card. You get loads of die cut leaves and tag and banner shapes in very vanilla and green for the leaves and very vanilla and gold for the banners. You get 2 reels of ribbon. You get this lovely like grain ribbon with like a frayed edge in a kind of navy blue. Now I'm not sure if this is Night of Navy or Misty Moonlight, which is one of our new in colours, and I'm not even sure how well you're going to see this on camera. And then you also get a reel of gold, which is slightly narrower and it's kind of a bit crinkled, and I think you get about 10 meters or so on each one of these, 10 yards. In addition to all that, you get in blue, which is kind of a bit like a pun, I think, on the suite itself, because the suite's all in blues. You've got thank you, you've got like 3 vases, some leaves and some flowers and a little bit of a decoration. And then in addition to that, you get dies. Got a couple of sets that are kind of like basic stitched sets, but these are the dies that go with the whole medley, so you get everything. And you've got the vase shapes, you've got some extras, and you've got the leaves and the flowers. So it's a complete, absolute beginner kit. The only thing you would need to put with this is a bit of glue. Because if you stick with all the die cut shapes, they're already die cut out for you. You get the stamp set. You'd need probably maybe 1 or 2 ink colours, if that, and as I say, a bit of adhesive. So this suite completely overlooked me when I was going through the new catalogue. It's on page 9 and all the information about it is under all the pictures, but the kind of colour scheme is garden green, which is the green that's in the die cut shapes, gold, Misty Moonlight, Night of Navy, very vanilla, and white. Now, I have to admit, I'm not a very vanilla person. I don't own the cardstock, apart from what's in here, the embossed cardstock. I've not bought very vanilla. It's just not something that attracts me. But it actually does look nice in this suite. I think it passed me by because on the next page, you've got the flowers for every season, which is like the jar of flowers suite, and I think this is bold and bright. And although blue is my favourite colour, I think I remember seeing it but thinking, no, I'm not really that interested. And then I turned over and saw this and I bought the jar of flowers, and I think that, you know, the Boho Indigo just kind of passed me by. And it was only when I saw a fellow demo using the suite, I thought, why did I not get that? So anyway, one of the perks of being a Stampin' Up demonstrator is that you can earn rewards and that kind of thing. And I had some rewards that I could use that would enable me to purchase something at 50% off. Now, this whole medley is £65, and considering you're getting a full stamp set, a full set of dies, 2 lots of ribbon, and all the paper, 48 sheets of double-sided designer series paper, and it's quite thick paper, and then, you know, all the other embellishments that come with it, which I'll show you in a minute. £65 is a good value, but I was able to get this at 50% off. Okay, so let's make a start. I've got all the elements ready. I've got a piece of thick Whisper White A4 card, which I've cut down the middle on the short side, scored and folded in half, and this is going to be the base card. I'm going to take a piece of the double-sided designer series paper, which I've cut slightly smaller. You could cut yours at whatever you want to. I'm going to layer it up, put the piece of white on top of it, which I'm going to do some stamping on. I'm using a couple of strips that I've cut from the gold ribbon, which is all from the kit, and this is a nested label which I've cut from the nested label dies, but again using the designer series paper from this kit, and one of the very vanilla and gold die cuts. I've got 4 of the flowers, 2 of each size. The 2 larger ones I've coloured with my blends and I've used Old Olive. Now the colour scheme in this kit is garden green, but I don't have garden green ink, so I'm using Old Olive. So I'm going to start with the piece of white, regular Whisper White card. I'm using Pear Pizzazz. So I know it's another shade of green, but this is what I've got, so this is what I'm using. Now, I'm using the leaf shape from the Boho Indigo, and I'm using the greeting at the top. So I'm just going to ink up the leaves, and in the catalogue, it looks as though the leaves have been stamped 4 times. Now, Pear Pizzazz is a little bit dark, so I've stamped off, and I'm using what's called like a second generation stamping, which is going to make the ink lighter on my page. And I'm just rotating the block, re-inking, and then I'm going to just literally put 4 stamped sections on this Whisper White piece of card, and this is going to be like the background for the die cut elements to go on top of. So I'm bringing in one of the pre-cut die cut shapes, and again I'm inking up in the same green ink, and I'm just going to stamp the greeting centrally, but this time full strength. So I stamped off on the leaves and I've used full strength on the actual main greeting. So now it's just a case of sticking this all together. I'm going to use our new Stampin seal, which has replaced our snail, and this is a really big runner when you're holding it in your hand. It runs nice and smoothly on the designer series paper, but I'll show you in a few minutes how it compares in size to snail. To position this designer series paper matting layer centrally to the front of my base card, and then I'm going to do the same with this white stamped layer. So again, just applying some of the new Stampin seal and positioning it centrally on top of the designer series paper. So the old snail fits in my hand a lot easier. I've only got small hands, and you can see the difference in the size between the 2 runners. The new seal is a lot bigger. It's refillable, the same as the other, and it's more chunky to hold in your hand. So I'm now going to position these 2 strips of the gold ribbon, again just using seal across the middle of the card, because they're going to get held down in place with dimensionals when I put the die cut layers on. So I'm just positioning them across the middle and overlapping them onto the adhesive. I'm going to bring in my nested label, and that's going to sit on top of the card centrally, and for this I'm going to bring in some of my Stampin' dimensionals. I'm using the big ones here, and I'm just going to put a few dimensionals on the back and then sit this onto the front of the card over the ribbon. So once I've put this in place, I'm going to use the dimensionals on the back of the die cut greeting, and I'm going to position that just over the nested blue layer. And because I've already layered up the nested blue layer, I'm just putting 1 dimensional on the bottom and a little bit of the seal on the top. And where the seal is, that will stick to the designer series paper, and where the dimensional is, that will stick to the base card, so that it's all level and flat. So this card is nearly finished now. It's just a case of bringing in my 4 little flowers. As I said earlier, 2 of them I've coloured with a green blend and 2 of them have left white. And I'm just trying to work out where I want them on the front of the card. And then for this, I'm going to use wet glue. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of wet glue to the back of each flower and position them, and then this card will be completed. So here it is, and I think it looks great. So this was minimal supplies. All as I added was the extra nested label shape, and everything else is from the kit. Okay, on to card 2. This is going to be another simple, easy one, again using elements all from the Medley. Another piece of Whisper White thick, cut in half, scored and folded. This time this is going to be a top opening card. I've got a piece of regular Whisper White which I've cut slightly smaller. This is going to be used as the matting layer. It's going to hold all the die cut pieces. Now within the die cut shapes there's this kind of border design. It doesn't cut it, it kind of pierces it and embosses it, and then I had to cut it out with my paper trimmer. And I'm going to use this little piece across the bottom of the card. It's going to act as like my shelf for my pot or vase. And then it literally is a case of just working out where the elements are going to go. I'm going to use some wet glue to stick this down, and I'm just going to apply it to kind of like the bottom third of the card, and then I know it overhangs, but I'll trim that later. So it's a case of just layering up the elements now. So I'm going to put the pot onto some 3D foam, and then I'm going to tuck in the flowers, and I've got some stamped flowers that are in the stamp set, like a trio of flowers. I've stamped those in Night of Navy, but I stamped off and then used the 2nd generation so that the flowers are a little bit lighter. Also in the dies you get these leaves. I've cut these in Night of Navy, and as well as cutting it embosses them. I'm not sure how well you'll see it on camera. And then I've also cut one of them in some gold glimmer card, which we don't sell at Stampin' Up anymore, but you know, we do sell a gold foil, or you may have some in your stash. And I'm literally just going to tuck these in behind the pot, arrange them how I think. I'm going to position them with the wet glue and then add the flowers, and then this one is nearly finished as well. Okay, so this is how it's looking so far, and now it's just a case of sticking the whole layer to the front of the card, and being as though I've got the wet glue handy, I'm just going to stick it down with Tombow, plus it'll help it stay in place with it having the extra weight from the die cut shapes and things. And this is just another simple little idea. I'm just going to have to pick it up so that I can see it, and then I'm just going to rub it down from the back to help it stick. So this is card 2. Okay, on to card 3. Now this is a simple one. Again, I don't do difficult cards, and all these cards I think could be made by a beginner. So I'm starting with the same white base card as I did with the last card, cut down the middle, scored and folded in half. Again, it's a top folding card. I've got 2 die cuts from the nested label dies, one cut in Whisper White, one cut in the double-sided designer series paper, and I'm just going to stick these down on top of each other using the Stampin' seal, and then this is going to form the base to layer up my leaves and flowers that you can see here. Now the leaves are green and gold, and some of the other leaves are cut from gold glimmer card, which as I say was from my stash. And I'm just trying to work out how far I can overlap the leaves onto the nested label shapes. I'm just going to position them roughly where I think they're going to go, and then I'm going to put the 2 gold die cut flowers, which again are all from this Medley kit, on top. So here it is all stuck together, and I've kind of created my own topper. So I'm not sure how well you can see it in the camera, but it does look nice. And then I'm just going to stick this onto the front of the card. But again, I'm going to pop it up onto dimensionals just to give it a little bit of height. And here it is finished. So another simple, quick card. So that's 3 cards made very simply and easily. So for the next one, I decided to introduce another colour. Now, in the free colour coach, which is available on my website, it says that one of the corresponding colours to go with Night of Navy is Coastal Cabana. So again, what I've done, I've die cut some shapes from within the set and stamped some flowers, but this time I've used Coastal Cabana. And then I'm going to use a piece of the designer series paper in the Night of Navy and a Night of Navy vase, which I have die cut with the dies from the kit. And again, it's just going to be layering up. I'm going to put this piece of designer series paper onto the front of the base card just with some wet glue. And this is kind of going to act as like the shelf for my vase, just so that the vase isn't floating in midair on the card. So I'm just going to stick that down, and then I'll trim it off. So I'm using various glues. This is the Tombow multi-purpose liquid adhesive, but I'm also using the new Stampin seal and dimensionals. You don't need to use all these adhesives. You could just get away with either the seal or even just the dimensionals. But now I'm going to start layering up this nested shape with my die cut shapes. So I'm just going to stick this down on the left hand side of the card, so it's down near the bottom, and then again it's just a case of layering up the different elements. So I've got Night of Navy card, which I've cut with the dies, and it also embosses. I'm going to pop this one up on dimensionals so that I can pop the leaves behind it, and then this one's going to be nearly finished as well. And here it is, another one finished. And I think the Coastal Cabana just goes with the Night of Navy really well. So this is the next card, and this is going to be using more designer series paper. I've got a piece of scrap Night of Navy card that you can see I've cut something out of with the ScanNCut, but it was big enough to make as a matting layer for this designer series paper. So I'm just going to apply some of the seal all around the edge, lay the designer series paper on top, and you'll never know that there was a gap underneath it. So I'm going to stick this onto the front of the base card. I've got a little bit of adhesive on my mat here, so I'm just going to be careful because I'll probably end up sticking the base card down to my grid paper. Using the seal again, this actually really does go on quite easily. I'm surprised, considering it's quite a chunky holder. It's quite simple to apply the adhesive, so I'm just trying to remove the adhesive so that I don't stick this base card to the paper. Put the matting layer on the front, then I'm going to double up the designer series paper on the bottom half of the card using this other piece as a contrasting colour. So I'm just going to stick this down with some adhesive, and then where the 2 pattern papers meet, I'm going to use a piece of Night of Navy cardstock, which I'm just going to trim down and position over the join. And then once I've got that stuck down to the card, I'm going to put the piece of gold glimmer card on top. So now I'm going to position the die cut shape, which is from the kit, and I'm just going to put 2 dimensionals, one at the top and one at the bottom, and I'm leaving a gap in the middle where the double layer of card will be. And by just applying the dimensionals this way, the dimensionals will sit onto where the designer series paper is, but leave a gap for the card underneath. And then again, it's just a case of layering up my die cut pieces and the die cut flower, and then this is going to be another simple card put together using the kit. And here it is completed. It really does make some stunning card, this kit. This is just simple matting and layering of designer series paper and a few simple die cuts. So on to card number 5. Again, it's going to be some designer series paper. Again, I'm sticking with a Whisper White base, top opening. I'm going to apply the designer series paper to the front of the card using the seal. And I'm just going to centre this. I've left a bit more of a border on this one, so it's a bigger, whiter area showing. I've got one of the stitched shaped ovals, not sure how well you can see it here on camera. And this one I'm thinking I will put in the middle of the card. I've got a piece of Night of Navy, which was a piece of scrap, and I'm thinking I'm going to position it on the oval, and it's like something to put the vase on. Although looking at it here now, it looks as though it's too deep, so I'm going to chop it down, and then I'll be positioning the leaves in the top of the vase, and I've got some of the stamped flowers from the stamp set. So for this one, as I've not used any ribbon so far, apart from the gold at the beginning, I thought I'd use a little bit of the Night of Navy, so I've just cut a small strip. I'm just sticking it down on top of the designer series paper with some of the seal, and then I've got dimensionals on the back of the topper, and I'm just going to position that over so the little bit of the blue ribbon peeks through behind the die cut shape just on either side, and that's another one completed. So a quick recap of all the 6 cards. Here's the one I've just made. White base card, designer series paper, some ribbon elements, die cut elements from the kit, a stitched oval, a bit of navy blue scrap card, which I've just put so that it looks as though the vase sits on top of it. The next one is piece of navy blue matting layer on top of a white base card, 2 types of designer series paper from the kit, a little bit of gold glimmer card, which, as I say, isn't available anymore, but there is a foil card available, or you might have some in your stash already, simply layered up with a die cut and the gold flower and the gold and cream topper from the kit. The next card, again, another simple design using the die cut vase, some stamped flowers from the kit, which I've stamped in Night of Navy and Coastal Cabana, some Coastal Cabana die cut leaves, again from the kit, and, you know, simple, beautiful cards. This one just is made into like a topper. I've used 2 sizes of the nested label dies, stitched dies, and then I've layered up the elements from the kit just to add a little bit of interest, and I've used the 2 die cut flowers, which are part of the kit, so I've not had to stamp these at all. These are just the die cut punched out shapes. The next one, again, simple navy blue and white on this, a white base card, white matting layer, a strip of white card that I used the stitched element from the kit, stamped some flowers, added some leaves, and then the last card is the very first one I made, which was kind of cased from the catalogue, more or less the same, apart from I've used a nested label, and in the catalogue it was an oval. So here they all are. I'll take a picture and give you a close-up at the end, but 6 cards, all made from the product Medley, took me about 45 minutes. I'd already obviously pre-stamped and punched out some of the die cuts, but I've still got all the ribbon left, and I've still got all the rest of the kit left. Loads and loads and loads in this kit. You know, you've still got the dies, you've still got the stamps. So it really is a kit that just keeps on giving. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked the projects. Please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.